of tourism that focus on protecting the environment and supporting local communities. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, I would like to kindly request your permission to document this event by turning on your camera for the future reference and promotional purpose. Your participation will be invaluable in capturing the essence of this occasion. Please be assured that any personal information will be treated with the utmost confidentiality. Thank you for your understanding. Please turn on your camera. Thank you. So before we begin the main session, let's honor our country with the national anthem Indonesia Raya.
Semoga tercapai
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the International Lecturing with the topic Ecotourism Best Practice. We are excited to explore how travelers seek more sustainable and meaningful experience. To start with, I would like to invite Mr. Andi Mulyana, SAMM, Head of Tourism Study Program, Universitas Terbuka, to give a welcome speech. Mr. Andi Mulyana, the time is yours.
Oke, terima kasih Mas Rizky. Suaranya bagus, jelas.
Sounds okay?
Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Selamat pagi Ibu Dr. Arni. Selamat pagi para mahasiswa sekalian. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this international lecturing event on ecotourism best practice hosted by the Tourism Study Program of Universitas Terbuka. Today, we gather to explore and discuss the innovative approach and sustainable practice that are shaping the future of ecotourism. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Arni Abdul Gani from Universiti Teknologi UITM, Malaysia. Dr. Arni, your extensive research and contribution to the field of ecotourism are truly inspiring. And we are honored to have you share your insight with us today. Ecotourism is more than just a trend. It is a vital component of sustainable development that balance and environmental conservation with the economic benefit of tourism. As we delve into today's discussion, I encourage all of you to think critically about how we can implement this practice in our own region and communities. I would like also to thank our organizing committee for their hard work and dedication in making this event possible. Your effort ensure that we can come together to learn, share, and grow as professional commit to the advance of ecotourism. Lastly, I want to thank all of you for your participation. Your presence here today signifies a collective commitment to fostering a more sustainable and responsible tourism industry. Let us make the most of this opportunity to exchange knowledge and inspire one another. I look forward to the fruitful discussion and innovative idea that will emerge from today's event. Thank you, and let us begin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Silakan,
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Mas Rizky.
wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Andi Mulyana, for the speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to the main session. I want to introduce our most anticipated speaker for today, Dr. Abdul Gani, Senior Lecturer at the Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. Her expertise is on sustainable tourism, including rural area tourism, protected area tourism, and also Islamic tourism attraction. All right, without any further ado, please join me in welcoming our expert, Dr. Arni Abdul Gani. Hello, Dr. Arni Abdul Gani. Very pleased to meet you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Mr. Rizky, if I
Yes,
can
Mr.
address
Rizky.
Rizky. So, okay. I'll start sharing now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time and for agreeing to be invited to the international lecturing, Dr. Arni Abdul Gani. I would like to inform you that you will have 30 minutes for your presentation, and then we will have Q&A session for the 15 minutes. Okay,
Alright.
Dr. Arni Abdul Gani, the time is yours.
Hold on. Wait. Suddenly it won't pop up. Okay, I'll try again. Can you see it now?
Yes, it seems working correctly, Doctor.
It's now okay?
Now it's okay.
You can see the slide, right?
It's working nicely.
Okay, alright. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning. Apa khabar? And a very good morning to everyone. So, first of all, thank you to Mr. Moderator for a kind introduction of myself. Okay, so and secondly, I would like to thank Universitas Terbuka Indonesia, particularly the tourism study programmers, for the invitation. It is an honor, a privilege, and according to the letter of invitation, I am tasked to give a presentation or basically a lecture on ecotourism best practices. Okay, and for that, I have actually come up with a slightly in the same focus, but my title today is Ecotourism Beyond Conservation Interconnection. Okay, all right. Okay, so I reckon that everyone here is basically students from tourism, so tourism study. So ecotourism is probably something that you have learned along the way. Nonetheless, this is just an overview of what my presentation would be. So we will look into ecotourism, and I'll give a little, maybe quite a brief introduction what is ecotourism, and then we examine a specific. I will share with you some of our Malaysia's hidden treasures of ecotourism sites here in Malaysia. And then we will look into ecotourism and an example of best practices. And then lastly is we will see how tourism can be a catalyst, basically for conservation efforts, at the same time fostering connections between local people, travelers, as well as the nature or the environment. Okay, so what is ecotourism? If you Google, you can find many, I would say, different scholars of interpretation of what ecotourism is. But if you go through, and you will find the keywords remains the same. Okay, ecotourism is basically any nature-based forms of tourism. All right, so that is the most important or fundamental criteria when we say what is an ecotourism. So in a layman explanation or definition of ecotourism is a form of tourism that bring together community support and sustainable development. And for that, basically it means that everyone who implement, who participate or market the product must adopt the principles that basically values of tourism, of ecotourism. And when we say ecotourism, the focus is always about social, behavioral, and social, behavioral, cultural, and environmental, to foster cooperation or collaboration between all this. Okay, but at the same time is to provide what we call understanding between local community and tourism or travelers who come to that particular site. And another important, when we said about ecological, another important element in ecotourism is ecological responsibility. So what is ecological responsibility? Basically, it means that in tourism, in ecotourism, anything that has got to do with providing facilities, recreation, infrastructure, services, it must, we say, use, minimize, or low impact facilities, or low impact service, or low impact recreation. It's all about low impact. So this is what we call as ecological responsibility. And when we said ecological responsibility, that's where the term responsible tourism comes in. So can I say ecotourism is responsible tourism? Yes, ecotourism is a responsible tourism. So at local, at international level, UNWTO, this is the body that actually has come up with ecotourism, or has involved with ecotourism since the early 1990s. And these are the body that has come up with guidelines on how ecotourism should be managed or developed and planned. Okay, so I have some pictures here just to share with everyone, since some of you might not have the opportunity to visit Malaysia yet. So these are some of ecotourism in Malaysia, but of course you can Google it later. Okay, some of these in Malaysia, some of our ecotourism sites are very popular, famous, not only for passionate travelers, ecotourists, but also for a normal leisure travelers. And we also have some very secluded, exclusive ecotourism sites, which I will show you later. And I have made a simple list of these, I call it hidden treasures of Malaysia. Okay, we have, which actually range from, like I mentioned, the most popular ones that representing ecotourism in Malaysia, and to the one that is only probably known among passionate ecotourists. Okay, so I have Jungle Discovery. So Jungle Discovery, if you Google Malaysia's ecotourism, one or two that might pop up is Danau Valley and National Park, or Malaysian National Park. So Malaysian National Park is located in Pahang, Danau Valley is in Sabah. Okay, so Malaysian National Park is famous among international travelers, even though they are only leisure travelers, because they got a lot of these modern facilities and whatnot. Whereas that Danau Valley is more secluded. It is basically a virgin or untouched forest, untouched jungles, we said. Okay, so this is more appealing to people who wants a really ecotourism experience. And then we have Treasures of Forest, Belum Temenggo, or Royal Belum, we call it. This is also in Pahang. And then we have mountain. I think you probably know the Gunung Kinabalu in Sabah. Okay, and then Gunung Tahan is on the peninsula area. And also I have here the river cruising. So river cruising, probably Langkawi is quite famous among people or among tourists. So probably you have heard about Langkawi. So Langkawi is also one of our geopark. Geopark recognition by the UNESCO. Okay, so Langkawi is our geopark. And in Langkawi, we have Kilim River. So this is famous spot for all these ecotourist or ecotourism recreation facilities like rafting and boating and so on. Okay, all right. So for Jungle Discovery, so these are some pictures that I have. As you can see, so this is pictures of Danau Valley and also National Park in Pahang. These are the two most famous national park. And like I mentioned, here this one, attract a lot of tourists, either the leisure or ecotourists. And Danong Valley is more secluded. More secluded in a sense that if you go by foot, you might spot wildlife. All right, so that is the difference. If in national park, you have to go to a certain distance inside into the forest for you to be able to see wildlife. So this is two different perspective or two different ways of what we meant by ecotourism sites. Okay, and then also we have here Royal Bloom. So Royal Bloom is one of the oldest. This is famous because this is when they research on it, they found, they calculated that this forest is 130 million years, believed to be older than the Amazon. So Royal Bloom. So Royal Bloom is a heaven for people who really like to do a really genuine, authentic place for people to see or to be part of ecotourism recreation facilities. Okay, and then also in Royal Bloom, in Royal Bloom they can spot this. This is the Rafflesia flower. Okay, the one that famous in Kota Kinabalu, and also actually they can spot during a perfect season, good timing, tourists can spot the Rafflesia flower. So in Royal Bloom, famous for sport fishing. Okay, sport fishing, and if you're lucky, you might encounter elephant, all right, in its natural habitat, as well as hornbill. So these are the pictures I put here are some of the attraction ecotourists lured or ecotourists attracted to go to Royal Bloom. All right. And also Malaysia, this is an example. This is a picture of our famous Mount Kinabalu. All right. So Mount Kinabalu, if you go to Sabah, this is a place to go. Either you want to climb to the peak or not, but it's worth to be visit Mount Kinabalu. Okay, so Mount Kinabalu, and this is Kilim Geo Forest Park, the one I mentioned. This is our Geo Park, and also Gunung Tahan. Okay, Gunung Tahan is in the peninsula. It is about 2,000 feet, I'm not mistaken. So this is usually a more pleasant way for people to climb. All right. Okay. Okay. So to share here, I want to share. So, but I just pick one place, but I want to share what are, when we said best practices. So how to ensure that the place that you have these treasures or these natures that we want to preserve, but at the same time we want to ensure that people can gain a lot of benefits from this area or this place. That's why we have ecotourism. So when we said ecotourism, okay, preservation, okay, I pick Royal Bloom, right? Ecotourism at Royal Bloom. So what they have in Royal Bloom, one is because it is part of a very vast forest. Okay, so but and they have segregated or zoned the area. All right, so in this Royal Bloom, they what they do is actually they preserve the forest by applying or implementing sustainable forest management practices. Meaning, in other words, if I can give you as an example, is to ensure that the cutting of trees must be done accordingly to what scientists or to what the researchers has given and allowed to do. You know, you cannot simply cut trees, even for making a trail or maybe something like that. So that is sustainable forest management practices. Okay, they have to collect data and make sure that trees, if it's cut for a very good reason. All right, if you are going to do a development or planning of the area, it has to be assessed thoroughly. So this is sustainable forest management. And other than that, Basically, good waste management. What we mean by good waste management, fragile areas or nature areas, forests, jungles, okay, we have to come up with a good way of managing waste. Especially when you allow people to go in or when you allow tourists to come. All right. So I probably would say that one of it is to have a practice or to have a rules or regulation that are enforced for tourists when they come, like bring in, bring out, whatever you bring in, you must bring out, those kind of practices. Okay. And even for the operators inside the royal balloon, okay, they have to know what are the good way of disposing waste management, and this must be taught. We as a management, we as a destination planner, destination management, we have to ensure that all operators abide by those rules. Third one, I would say use of nature. As much as possible, best practices in ecotourism is to use nature. Use nature for what? Use all the nature resources as much as possible to supplement or to supply for the recreation facilities. For example, I give here is use of bamboo for making rafting rather than you bring fiberglass boats or whatsoever. All right. So use of nature. This is what we meant as low impact. All right. Forest certification initiative, forest law, nothing can be done if you don't have a good law to enforce. So I think same in Indonesia, same in Malaysia, we have to identify which are the organization or bodies responsible. And believe me, you are going to find a lot of this overlapping of power, overlapping of jurisdiction. Forests belong to a certain jurisdiction. Tourism belongs to a certain. So this is a challenge. But at the same time, this is what we meant by best practice. You have to have a good collaboration among all responsible or relevant authorities when we said in order to manage good ecotourism. Okay, guided tours by local guide. What we mean by local guide, as much as possible, we with a good utilization of local people, like in Royal Balloon, because Royal Balloon is also home to indigenous community. These are the Jahai people. Jahai people is the indigenous community in Royal Balloon. And what they did is basically they are the one who will be the guide or the nature guide. So when tourists come, these are the people that will entertain the tourists, make demonstration, show like what is their lifestyle, how they go about navigating the nature or navigating the forest, what are their economies, what they do, how they hunt, those kind of thing. So you have to use as much as possible local guide. Aside because they are the local people and they know the best about the place, but because you want to, one important point about ecotourism is all about educational awareness. We want to educate people about nature. Because why education is important? Only by education that people will be able to behave responsibly. No education, people wouldn't know what to do, how to dispose waste. As simple as that. So ecotourism has the utmost important by ensuring whatever activities you do for tourists with the focus of giving education, with the focus of instilling knowledge. Right. So what is best if it doesn't come from people who live in the area? So that is one. All right. So local guide, they can give or can promote a very good educational awareness. And from that, this is what we meant by community engagement. Important characteristic of ecotourism is community engagement. How to do that? Like the one I've given you, the example I just mentioned to you. Get the local people to be guide. This is community engagement. let them do the demonstration, you know. But of course, we as the managers, we as the, the owner probably, or you are the government or the state government, your responsibility is more bigger in education the local guide to make sure they know what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to give service to tourists, how to be hospitality, those kind of things. And carrying capacity, I think you probably have come across the term carrying capacity, right? So ecotourism, sustainable tourism, carrying capacity is a must practice. So there are many ways actually of implying carrying capacities, looking at what kind of resources and then what kind of experience that you want the tourists to have when they visited the area. So carrying capacity, basically in Royal Belum, they have limited. They do impose a limited number of tourists, whereby they do it by segregating or zoning area in Royal Belum. Only a certain area can be occupied for tourists. Okay, and they when I check on the record, it says that approximately 1 kilometer, 1 kilometer from the lake, there is a lake in Royal Belum that is actually the focal point of people. Basically, basically anglers. They come for sport fishing. So this lake within 1 kilometer is where all the facilities for tourists is placed. Other than that, no. So this is basically to ensure that you can control crowd, that you can control people, rather than you open the area with no restrictions and whatnot. Okay, so this is an example of the boats, houseboats in Royal Belum. So this is the lake. Basically, they take the package, they stay there for like 4 days, 3 nights, or 2 days. I don't think it's 2 days, 1 night. At least 3 days, 2 nights, probably, if I'm not mistaken. 4 days, 5 nights, and so on. All right. So there's a package, and with the package, they stayed in the houseboats. And what the management of Royal Belum did is, they limit the number of campsites and lodging for tourists, like I mentioned. So houseboats, if I'm not mistaken, around 30 plus only houseboats is given the permission to operate. All right, and I think campsites around the 1 kilometer area from the lake is about 3 or 4 campsites. Okay, so this is how you can limit the number of people or the number of tourists coming to the ecotourism sites. Okay, so here, enforce on limited number of houseboats to operate for tourists, about 35 only houseboats permitted. And compulsory sewage tanks built in the houseboat. So to make sure that sewage comes from, the waste and everything is contained. So they don't dump it into the lake. Right, regular interval for health and safety inspection at the houseboats. The management is doing that, ensuring that houseboat is safe. All right, to ensure that the health of the people living there, at the same time ensuring that the area is healthy enough for people to come. All right, and then training. I mentioned just now, training for houseboats operators. Why? We need to train them, because sometimes a lot of these houseboat operators, they are local people. They are people who probably from the state of Pahang. Okay, so they are local people who probably don't have a formal education on how to care for the environment. So we as people who are from tourism, from environmental background, this is where we came in, and we give training. We give them ways, we come up with projects helping them how to manage the area, how to manage tourists, those kind of trainings. Any development plans in Royal Belum must be submitted to the Sultan's or the King's office. Why? To ensure that power, or to ensure that jurisdiction of the park on the development and planning and so on comes from one source. Because if you have so many sources of people able to mingle on the operation of the site, that could create trouble, that could create challenge. So Royal Balloon, what they did to ensure that is anything for future development, any additional what they want to do with the park or with Royal Balloon must be submitted to the King's office, all right, and only upon approval it can be done. Okay. And then impose of fees. I think we already hear. We probably have heard, or probably we already know. Ecotourism. A lot of these ecotourism sites all over the world impose certain type of fees. Normally it is in terms of entrance fees. It is in terms of conservation fees. It is in terms of permit. Like you have to have a guide. You have to hire a guide. So you need to pay for the permit. Either it's per person or per group. Why is it important? Why is fees is important? Because this is how to ensure that conservation can be done continuously. You need money, you need fund, despite that you're getting budget from the government. But conservation fees, permit fees, entrance fees, this will come and benefit back to the community. All right. From there, from the fees, you can supply as an incentive for the community. When I mentioned just now, community engagement. All right. So you can pay a certain amount or a certain percentage of those fees for the community who works together with you to ensure the sustainability of those ecotourism sites. Okay. All right. And then this is some pictures of ecotourism experiences in Royal Belum. So the students came in and then briefing by the orang asli. So this is the Tok Batin, we call it here. All right. Tok Batin is like the head village of the community. So from at the back there, that is the traditional house. So using, as you can see, using as much as possible from nature sources. Right. And then education and awareness program. So if you have what they have in Royal Belum, they have a visitor center. So in visitor center, they have all this information about what are they doing, how they have done so far, what are the areas in this forest, accessible to tourists, what are their projects coming to ensure the forest is in pristine environment. Okay, so education awareness program, normally they're going to have a guide for the students or for tourists who came in. Okay, and then this is an example of the bamboo rafting. Okay, so this is basically how the local people or how the indigenous people, how they do it, how they go, rafting on the river. So they do the same for the tourists. Okay, it's a good experience because ecotourists or people who love ecotourism, they want to experience something in its most genuine way, right? The most authentic you want to experience that. So this is an example of how it can be done. Okay, and then trekking, proper trekking trail, to ensure people don't wander around. Very important in ecotourism site. You don't want people to start making new trail. All right, started to explore. You don't want that. So you must have a proper trail. So here there's the line to ensure that people know where to climb. Right. Okay, and then, so ecotourism best practices, basically, here I have simplified some of the practices. Ensure the safety of wild animals, minimize wildlife disturbance. How to do that? That's why we do zoning. That's why we do segregation. That's why we have a zone area where people can go, but at the same time will not disturb habitat. But close enough for the tourists to have the chance to catch a glimpse of those wildlife. Okay, so that is a thin line that the management need to ensure. You don't want them to go too far, that might disturb the habitat, but at the same time, you need to ensure that tourists has the ability to spot a few wonders or wildlife. So as a tourism developers or tourism planners, this is critical to us. Okay, this is critical to us. Of course, we cannot do this alone. You have to work with environmentalists. You have to work with a lot of people from different backgrounds to do that. All right. And then, of course, refrain. Have a good law to refrain people from taking things from inside the forest, take back with them. You know, you don't want them to be taken token or whatnot. Right, so that's important. Contribute to the local economy. Okay, basically encouraging local benefits. What is that? You, as much as possible, you want tourists to spend, stay at the local campsites, you know, buy food from the local people, you know, get the service from the local guide, and so on. Reduce waste. Okay, reduce, recycle, okay, reuse. Okay, so what we do, use the water, the energy. Nowadays, there's a lot of technology that can be embedded in ecotourism, use of solar, all right, and so on. I mentioned about bring in, bring out just now. So bring in, bring out rule. Very important in managing protected areas, particularly because that promote leave no trace. Okay, LNT, leave no trace approaches. Very famous approach in waste management for tourism site. Support biodiversity. Okay, so support biodiversity probably by respecting culture. Okay, generating awareness. Right, and then educate. Okay, ecological. Ecological, use different mediums and experience. To transfer ecological knowledge. Encourage dialogue. This is educate visitors. Encourage dialogues, cultural exchange. You have a lot of create engagement activities, local people with community, but make sure it is low impact. All right, reduce carbon emission. How to reduce carbon emission? Responsible transportation. You know, no carbon transportation by walking, by using rafting, no engine, and so on, as much as possible. Okay, ensure visitor safety, providing activities, but at the same time, those activities must always have a safety rule, because you don't want to create any issues with safety in the jungle or in the ecotourism site, right? So we must know what is the most safety measures for tourists when they want to engage, and get that collab that collaboration with local people or local indigenous communities. They know the best how to make sure it's safe. All right, develop activities program that conserve biodiversity. For example, fishing, like in Royal Belum. So when they have anglers or sport fishing, so they have established like the number of catch you can do in one day. Meaning you cannot catch as much as you want. There are a number that you have to follow. All right, a number of fish, and then the size of the fish. You cannot be catching small fish. You have to catch like a certain number or certain, size and weight of a fish. And if you catch small ones, you have to let go. Those kind of rules and regulation. Okay. And then sometimes species, there are certain fish that probably extinct, close to extinction. So these fishes are, restricted. It's not allowed for you to fish. Okay, so foster close collaboration with local ecotourism alliance. Basically, involve local community in anything. Local community is best not only for them to at operational level, but it's also good to engage local community even at planning level, even at the very beginning of you want to start planning for tourism in ecotourism site. Okay, so involve them at planning, at decision making. Okay. All right, and then so ecotourism shaping a greener through responsible tourism. I have highlighted some of the keywords here. Again, I'm mentioning responsible tourism. We have to say pledge to that. If we are really passionate about ecotourism, it's all about responsible. Okay, encourage economic growth, environmental conservation. At the same time, is to get community development, to develop the community. All right, give them training they needed, ensure that they know and they know what to do, they know how to care for the environment, and they're able to educate other people as well. Okay, probably you have learned about CBT, community-based tourism. Community-based tourism is a good approach for ecotourism side. Okay, so a community-based tourism, anything that you can do that engage community, let them run the business. Okay, that is a good approach for ecotourism. All right, and then I think I'm on the last slide. Okay, so the future of ecotourism lies in responsible and sustainable tourism practices that educate travelers about conservation, biodiversity, and local cultures. So this is the quote I take from ecotourismmalaysia.org. Okay, so basically, again, responsible and sustainable practices. This is the two important approaches or two important focus for ecotourism. All right, in order for ecotourism to be successful and able to meet its objectives and goals, it has to be done in these two, responsible and sustainable. So I think with that, I end my presentation. I return back to Mr. Moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
Dr.
hope that is
Arni, for
within the
your
time.
insightful presentation. From what has explained, if I may, we can conclude that ecotourism is any nature-based form of tourism, and any element within the ecotourism is foster collaboration between social, behavioral, culture, and environmental, and also ecological responsibility is low impact on environmental activity. From this presentation, based on case or on Royal Bloom, which jungle than older than Amazon forest. Many ecotourists are attracted to the Royal Bloom, and the best practice of ecotourism is preserve and get benefit for the local people, such as applying sustainable forest management, creating a waste management, use all natural resource as much as possible to create a low impact activities, also empowering local people. Ecotourism mean also community engagement, also carrying capacity, a limited number of the tourists, and giving education to the local people to plan responsibility to the people area within. And also minimize wildlife disturbance, encourage local benefit, reduce waste, respect local culture, heritage, educate visitors, minimize carbon, provide safety measures, support diversity, and involve local community. Okay, for the next session, ladies and gentlemen, now we have some time for the Q&A sessions. Unfortunately, we only have 15 minutes for this session. Please type your questions into the chat, or you can just turn on your audio and ask the question to the speaker directly. We're gonna start with the first question. We got the first question from Ozi Setiawan. Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Arni. As we know, conventional tourism and ecotourism often show a significant gap in number of tourist visits, where conventional tourism is more desirable because it offers more diverse entertainment, experience, and attraction. What are the factors that cause and influence this gap apart from the diverse preference and motivation of the tourists? Do you agree that the traveler patterns are changing and may tend to consider that environmental sustainability is not an important priority in their travels?
All right, thank you, Mr. Ozi. Ozi Setiawan. Okay. All right. When you said conventional tourism, probably you are referring to cities, probably, or areas that are definitely not under nature, lah. All right. So that is conventional. More desirable because it more diverse entertainment experiences and attractions. Okay, I do agree. Why I do agree? Because conventional tourism, or when you said, okay, let me give an example like city tourism or events for that matter. All right. These attract a different market segment. So we have to know when we said about tourism, there's a lot of market segment. And ecotourism is attracting a specific or a niche market. If I want to give an example of an ecotourist, okay, so an ecotourist would not like going for entertainment. So that is two different things. So you said that yes, I agree. Conventional tourism more desirable because it attracts those kind of people. Ecotourism is desirable to this side of people. So this is two things, two different things. All right, and it attracted a different. And I mean, both of conventional or or city tourism or event whatsoever, they are and ecotourism are working in their own, I would say, are developed or planned in such a way that it attract those people, that it attract the potential market for their product. Okay, so what are the factors? Basically, like I said, because of different market segment. Okay, but if you want to say travel pattern is changing, yes. And this is one thing as a tourism students or maybe a tourism scholars, we have to acknowledge that especially after technology came in, especially after pandemic, even though pandemic has gone, I mean, to some scholars, not worth to mention anymore. Don't be surprised when you say, pandemic, and then some people would say, oh, that is old story. All right. But we know from that, we do agree that people have changed tremendously in terms of pattern. Nowadays, people are becoming more, I would say, independent travelers. Okay, they like to explore. They like to know about the place first. They read reviews. They ask people, even not ask people, but they read reviews. Technology plays an important role. So ecotourism places need to do that. We cannot be longer, we cannot be any more relying on this maybe small market. So ecotourism also need to do that. Right, in order to ensure that people, because I mentioned, it's all about education. It's all about environmental preservation. You can preserve environment only by knowledge. Okay, so you cannot do that if people don't have the knowledge. Okay, yes, travel patterns is changing, but actually it's changed for the good, I would say. There's one, I think a few of scholars have suggested that people nowadays are especially after what happened in pandemic, people nowadays are becoming more conscious about visiting places. They are becoming more cautious, more they have this exploratory nature or exploratory needs to explore new places rather than going to the same place, okay, because of pandemic. So I'm seeing that as a good fortune, or as a good future for ecotourism. Okay, all right, I hope that I answered the question.
Okay, thank you very much, thank you very much, Dr. Arni. So before we move to the next question, if there's any participant or attendees want to ask the question directly to the speaker, which is Dr. Arni Abdul Gani, I will be pleased to hear that, if there's any.
Second question, is it? Are we going to the second question?
Hello, Dr. Arni.
Yeah.
It's honor for me to be able to ask you about Malaysia tourism.
Yes.
It's about ecotourism in Malaysia. Are there any ecotourism destination in Malaysia that have been successfully revitalized by the government or the local communities to restore environmental or condition or react tourist visit intention? And there are any, what kind of treatment is that? Thank you.
You mean, is there any more Is there any ecotourism site that has?
Ecotourism that have been revitalized by government or local communities, something like that.
Okay. Okay. A lot actually. If yeah, the one that I showed to you just now. Okay, so those are those ecotourism sites that has actually a good evidence of collaboration between local community and the government. And I like to mention about geopark. So geopark is another. Probably we are familiar with WHS, right? World Heritage Site. I think Indonesia has a lot of World Heritage sites, right? So another recognition under UNESCO is geopark. Geopark is given for an area that has the most that has a value of geological as well as environmental that is worth to be protected. Okay, so if I want to mention geopark in Malaysia, so Malaysians, we are proud of our geopark that is Langkawi. All right, so yes, Langkawi, when we say Langkawi, sometimes you will say, oh, Langkawi is an island and it's crowded with tourists. Correct. But geopark in Langkawi is another area in Langkawi which is well protected. And they have a good practice in ensuring tourism will not destroy in a way the whole areas of this geopark. And up until now, geopark probably, I think Indonesia has quite a number of geopark, if I'm not mistaken. But in Malaysia, geopark, and another one we coming is our Kinabalu. Kinabalu is also sent out to be regarded as another geopark in Malaysia. So if you ask me, is there any? Yes, we have that a lot. Despite the examples I given to you, these are another examples of a good collaboration between community and government in ensuring that ecotourism meets its goals and the aim of that particular place. All right. I hope I answered the question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Arni. So we can move to the last question. Unfortunately, the third question from Chut Khairiyah. And the question is, I would like to know what problems that may occur in the process of implementing ecotourism and how to solve it. Thank you very much. I think this question is same as the challenge of implementing the ecotourism, Dr. Arni.
Yeah. I would say, and I say this based on my experience conducting research and as well as when we go out and meet the local people. So there is always a challenge in terms of ensuring local people understand why we do things in such a way. Okay, and at the same time, challenge in terms of providing equal benefits to both the sector, the industry, at the same time for the local community. As much as we can say this project is successful and whatnot, it doesn't come without challenge. So one, I would say the most important, the most, I would say, challenge that we the most common challenge is to have that understanding. I think the same like in Indonesia, all right? I've been to a few Indonesian attractions, ecotourism attractions. So I can see that as well, as much as the local people, some of them, they are very passionate about conserving the environment, but some just want money, right? Same goes here, same, more or less the same problems, okay? And then you have a place or a state government or a government or pemerintah, that are passionate about that, and there are some government or state government who just, don't care. So one challenge is that. Second is once you have overcome that, you'll be able to provide ecotourism, is to make sure that the ecotourism stays at conserving the environment. You know, sometimes when you miss evaluation, your miss monitoring, things can go very, very fast because this is environment. Sometimes we put aside, okay, never mind, 6 months, or 1 year. Don't do anything, you don't monitor, you don't evaluate. You think there wouldn't be much changes. But after a while, you will see a tremendous changes in environment. You think 6 months, no monitoring, no evaluation is okay. But when it comes to fragile areas or nature areas, a single mishap can lead to a disaster one. So there's a lot of challenge. That's why ecotourism, either in Malaysia or Indonesia, I would say first is to ensure that people on the same page about this ecotourism. We are in the same page. We know we want the same thing. Okay, and after that is to ensure that we enforce laws, regulation. Make sure tourism is there, but tourism will not destroy the site. And actually, tourism used as a catalyst to promote connection. Okay, I hope that answered the question.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Arni, for the third answer for the questions. And ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, it's closing time. Thank you to everyone for your engaging questions and participations. And a special thanks to Dr. Arni Abdul Gani for sharing her valuable insight.
Thank you.
Hope you find this session on ecotourism best practice both informative and inspiring. Now, as we come to the end of this wonderful event, I would like to remind you to grab to the participant and all attendees to grab your well-deserved participation electronic certificate. You can do so by filling out the form, the link of which has been shared in the Zoom chat box. Please remember that the form will close within 5 minutes. Your certificate will be sent directly to your email. Thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned for more exciting event in our international lecturing series. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye, Mr. Nitin.
Before we
Goodbye,
end this
everyone.
session, Dr. Arni Abdul Gani, may I have a session for documentation?
Oh, okay, sure.
And all the attendees or participants to turn on your camera. Udah, bro? Kenapa? Thank you, Dr. Arni Abdul Gani, for the documentation. I would like to meet you someday. Thank you for your insightful presentation. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arni.
Thank you.